You know, Australia is sitting on an absolute treasure chest. It's packed with the very minerals that are going to power our entire future. We're talking lithium for EV batteries, rare earths for wind turbines, you name it. But here's the thing. There's a multi-billion-dollar twist in this story, a huge paradox that Australia is now scrambling to solve.
Just think about this for a second. Seriously, imagine you do all the backbreaking work, all the digging, only to stand by and watch someone else turn your dirt into a fortune. Well, for Australia, this isn't just some thought experiment. It's the reality they've been living, and now they're trying to flip the script.
Let's start with this number, 47%. That is Australia's staggering share of the entire world's lithium production. They are, without a shadow of a doubt, the #1 producer on the planet. They dig up almost half of the global supply of this stuff.
And here is the catch. Even though they mine all that raw material, Australia has historically captured just a tiny, tiny fraction of the final value. For decades, the whole model was super simple. Dig up the raw rock, stick it on a ship, and let other countries handle the high-tech, high-profit refining. The multi-billion-dollar question is why?
To really get why this is happening, we've got to zoom out and look at the big picture. Because the real power in this whole industry isn't just in the digging. It's all about what happens next. So this chart right here, it lays it all out. One single country, China, controls on average 70% of all the critical mineral refining on Earth. Now that's the super important stage where you turn raw ore into the super pure materials you need for all our modern tech. And when you break it down, the numbers get even crazier. For some of these materials, the control is practically absolute. 99% of the graphite that goes into batteries, over 90% of rare earths, and almost 60% of the lithium that Australia itself digs up. That is a massive concentration of industrial power in one place.
This isn't just about business. This control creates a massive bottleneck for the entire planet's shift to clean energy. The supply chain for the batteries in your phone, in our electric cars, in our power grids, it all runs through this one single choke point. And for countries like Australia, it means their incredible resource wealth is basically dependent on a single customer.
But things are starting to change. Australia has decided it's done just being the world's quarry. They have launched an ambitious, all-in pivot to fight for a much, much bigger piece of the action.
So, what are they doing? First up, they've doubled their critical minerals facility to $4 billion. Think of this as a huge government insurance policy. It provides low-cost loans to make these giant, super expensive refining projects way less risky for private companies to invest in.
Next, they're rolling out a $7 billion production tax incentive. This is basically a direct cashback program for companies. It rewards them for every single kilogram of mineral they process inside Australia. It's a direct shot at closing the cost gap with overseas competitors. And third, and this is a big one, they are not going it alone. Australia has put together a landmark $3.5 billion partnership with the United States, specifically to build new, secure, and friendly supply chains for these exact minerals. Now, all these massive checks being written, they're not happening in a vacuum. They are all part of one big, coordinated national plan, the Critical Minerals Strategy. And the goal is simple, but it is huge, to completely transform the economic model of its resources sector. Okay, so that's the plan. Billions of dollars on the table, a whole national strategy. But is it actually working? Let's move from the policy talk to the real world and see what's happening on the ground.
The mission is to take this raw, unprocessed rock dug from the earth, and instead of just putting it on a boat, build the factories that can turn it into the advanced materials that power our modern world, all on Australian soil.
So this is the value chain Australia is trying to climb. They are already the undisputed masters of step 1, mining the raw ore, or spodumene concentrate. The entire national strategy is about mastering steps 2 and 3, because that's where the real profits and the skilled jobs are. We're talking about turning that concentrate into high-purity lithium hydroxide, and then into the final chemicals for battery cells. And you know what? We're starting to see it happen. Take a look at Iluka's Endeavour refinery. It's backed by a massive government loan, and it's set to become the country's first fully integrated refinery for rare earths. Those are the elements you absolutely need for EV motors and defense tech. This one plant alone will be a huge deal for non-Chinese refining capacity. And this shift isn't just in some niche market. It's happening in the massive lithium sector too. Projects like the Kwinana refinery are already starting to come online, with the goal of producing tens of thousands of tons of battery-grade lithium hydroxide every single year.
This isn't just one project. It's a whole new industry being born. Okay, but let's be real for a second. Building a multi-billion-dollar industry basically from scratch is not easy, and Australia is facing some pretty serious challenges on this journey.
First up, there's the cost. Building one of these complex plants outside of China is, on average, about 50% more expensive. Second, the mineral markets are, well, they're wild. We saw lithium prices go to the moon and then crash back down by about 70%. That makes it really tough to finance new projects. And finally, you've got pure competition. You have to convince giant car makers to switch from the suppliers they've been using for years.
And beyond all the economic hurdles, there's a major environmental one. And it starts with this number, 2 million.
2 million liters of water. That is the high-end estimate for producing a single ton of lithium from those salt brines you find in South America. It's a totally different method than what's used in Australia, but it shows you the enormous environmental footprint these green minerals can have.
Now, to be fair, Australia's lithium comes from hard rock mining, which is way less water-intensive than brine extraction. But the chemical processing needed to turn that rock into battery-grade material, that still has to be managed really carefully. So, scaling up this industry sustainably is a huge challenge in itself.
You know, this quote from Athena Resources just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures this moment. The tech is there, the resources are in the ground, the money is starting to show up. So the ultimate question isn't can they do it, it's will they?
So all of this leads to one final huge question. Is Australia actually going to climb that value chain and become a real powerhouse in the clean energy economy? Or is it going to stay the world's quarry, just digging up its wealth for other people to profit from? The plans are set, the factories are being built, and the answer? Well, that's going to unfold over this next critical decade.